On today's Try to Finish Something, I've done it again. I've decided to do way more things that are humanly possible. I've got 2 soccer teams that I am coaching. I have a full-time job. I'm making that project, that actual soon-to-be screen-used television prop that I'm making, and I'm hoping that that's the first of many more to come, and I'm super excited about that. But I've also been roped into doing the local grammar school haunted house. My youngest daughter's in grammar school and they haven't done a haunted house in like 5 years, and said, hey, you want to do a haunted house? And I'm not taking it easy. My plan is to scare adults. If you've been following me on Instagram, you've seen the mummified children that I've been doing, but today I've got some things to do. But I want to give a shout out to Tony from Docking Bay 327. If you have seen that Star Wars light that he made for his Star Wars ship room, oh God, it's amazing. And I was watching, I'm gonna prove it right now. I was watching the Almost Star Wars show, and Ron, CG artist, had mentioned it's all about YouTube channels and advice to starting up a YouTube channel. At one point, Ron said, you know, there's some YouTube channels that they're just too chatty. They're just talking the whole time, and I think he meant me. Today I have a podcast that I want to get to, and I have a couple projects. And technically, if this is a podcast, I shouldn't be doing this intro. It's got a whole different intro, but I am doing a few builds today. I have a couple different ideas. One of them for my Star Wars container that I've been working on, and I have a feeling it's going to be all over the place. We're going to cover so many different things today, so buckle up. We've got a lot to get to on today's Try to Finish Something. And hello again. It is time for another podcast, and I keep changing up the format of these because I'm still not exactly sure what I want to do with these. I do have questions that I want to get to, and I have a small build. I'm sure you've been watching the Andor series. I'm sure you're familiar with how that series is going. I won't give any spoilers, but I will say this. I feel like that Andor series is a love letter to nerds like all of us. It is Greeblies porn watching that series. I mean, they do like long shots on scenery and walls and things that are geared towards nerds like me, and I love it. I love the look of it, the feel of it. It's like a cross between the Mandalorian and Wall-E. And it's great. That wouldn't sell me on watching it. If I was pitching that show to someone and said, hey, it's a cross between the Mandalorian and Wall-E, they'd go, can you leave? But I do want to get to some questions, and I do have 2 different things that I want to share with you that I'm in the process of. And actually, there might be a third thing, because I'm going to talk about something that I mentioned in the last build, and I have questions about that. And I seem to have a really hard time actually getting to the questions with all the tangents that I wind up on. So I'm going to start with some questions and then move into some of the builds that I want to get to today. So here we go. I have questions from my Patreon members, and they are as follows. In the beginning of your last video, you said you made 2 bats, a real one and a fake one. How did you make a real bat, and why didn't you just buy one? All right, I misspoke. I do those intros to my videos live, and it's just me kind of rambling, and it's not always perfect, just as this isn't going to be. And I didn't make 2 bats. I was told to bring 2 bats to set for a movie. I still can't tell you what it is. And one was to be a real wooden bat, and the other was supposed to look like a wooden bat, exactly like the first one. And both of those bats were supposed to be identical. So what I did was I went and I bought a real wooden bat, and then I made a foam bat. And because I wanted them to look identical. I wanted them to look worn and used. And so I took the real bat, and if you've ever, seen a bat that's been around and been played with a lot, especially by kids, the handle is dirty and it's stained and there are nicks and chips in it. So what I did is I made the fake bat, and then I altered the real one to look old, and then weathered my foam bat in the exact identical places so that when switched back and forth on set, the eye would see some of the imperfections of that real bat and then see those same imperfections on the bat that I made, so that they looked identical on set and to the camera and wouldn't catch the attention of those that were watching it. And those little details would be things that you would pick up on and you would assume they were the same bat. So I didn't make a real bat. I made a fake bat, weathered a real bat, and weathered my fake bat so that they matched and were identical. Does that answer that question? All right. I follow you on Instagram, and you are obviously making a throne for one of the props that you were talking about for the real world prop you were hired to do for TV. Again, I don't know how much I can tell. Yes, I am making a throne for a television production. I will probably be doing some other... Again, I'm just going to tell you. All right. So here's the thing. I received a phone call from someone in the production crew of that Bat movie that I did and said, hey, do you want to be part of this? I'm going to get a Zoom call going with the director. And I didn't know what the project was. I still can't tell you what the entire project is. But I was told that there was like armor and a throne, and there were a bunch of different props that were needed for this. The production had already started filming. I was coming in, I think like a month and a half, maybe 2 months into this production, and I don't have a lot of time. I didn't have a lot of time, and I still don't have time. I was told that I had just a couple weeks to get this throne done that was needed on set and ready to go. It's kind of like if you've watched this channel for a while, and I did the fake scenario with the Mandalorian where I had to be on set with a power droid in 2 hours. This is kind of the real thing, but I was told 2 weeks. And it's a throne. I mean, a throne isn't the kind of thing that I normally build, but I was all in. I love the idea of getting involved in real screen-used props, and I would have said yes, no matter what the dollar amount is. And that's, God, I hope they don't see this, because that's me being a terrible salesman of myself. So yeah, I was talking to the director, and sorry, I'm just playing with things that are sitting on the desk because I'm fidgety. So because I'm not sure if I'm supposed to be sharing all of this. So I was talking to the director, and I was told that they had already hired a crew to do this throne, and the throne was delivered and was not able to be used on screen and not up to their standards. And I said, okay. I said, well, I'd be interested in seeing this throne at some point because I would like to see what not to do and kind of where that bar is set so that I know what to do. And I said, is there any way that you can tell me a little bit about what you want from this throne? And they wanted it very angular, and the pictures they gave me were all from like Thor, and they were that kind of throne. I'm not sure how much of this I can tell you. So they then said that the crew out of Los Angeles that they originally hired, and I won't say any names, was part of the painting crew for the Mandalorian, and they had delivered a prop that was not up to their standards. I choose these words very carefully because I personally don't know anything about it. But they said painting crew, so maybe the painting crew doesn't normally make props and they possibly bit off more than they can chew. All of that said, all excuses aside, in my brain, I heard someone from Star Wars failed, I need to fix it. And that's probably completely not true. But in my brain, I'm thinking, I'm doing something that somebody involved in Star Wars didn't get done. And from that point on, there was like this white noise as the director and this person in charge of the production crew they were just talking, and all I heard was shh, and all I kept thinking was, I'm doing something somebody from Star Wars couldn't do. That was all I was thinking. And I was in from that point on. It didn't matter what else happened in that conversation. I was in and I wanted to do it. And yes, a throne is something I am making. And I want the throne to have a certain look and feel to it because I don't want it to just be flat gold, and I don't have the time to make it flat gold. And it's not like I'm going to be able to fiberglass this and do anything like that in the time that is allowed. So I'm going for kind of a gold leaf look to this throne. And so to that end, I'm using like chipboard and I'm using all kinds of stuff, but I'll eventually get to a little more about that project when that project is finished. But yes, I am making a throne. The next question is, I am also new to Adobe Illustrator and designing my own things for both Star Wars and non-Star Wars things with my X-Tools laser cutter. Do you have any quick tips for me? I'm making things that don't fit properly, like I made the hole too small for my LEDs, and now I have to drill it out and it shatters the acrylic sheet. Yes, I've been there and I've done that. I know if you watch The Smuggler's Room, a great tip for drilling in acrylic sheets is a step bit. I probably have one here somewhere. This right here, this is a step bit, and a regular drill bit, it catches too much on the plastic and then shatters it, while this kind of just slowly shaves off bits of it. And they come in all different kinds of sizes. This is a really big one, but I have them in multiple sizes, and you can pick them up really cheap at somewhere like Harbor Freight. The other thing that I would recommend, and I have two things I would recommend. Hold here for just a second. I don't know what just fell. And I'm back. Still don't see what fell. All right. So I would recommend getting one of these to take your measurements. This gauge is super precise, and you can take things like this piece of plastic, you can measure that and get an exact measurement of how wide that is. And then if you just give yourself a little bit of a kerf, whatever you fit inside of this should fit. And I do that like with all of these holes and stuff to make sure the Greebly that I'm putting in there actually fits. And I'm lazy, and I don't always have this tool in front of me. So what I sometimes do is this. I took a piece of the scrap acrylic, and these are the most common screws that I use, the Allen head screws that I use, and an LED. And I took and I measured these, and I just wrote out what the measurements were. And when I'm designing something, I try and keep this little cheat sheet with me, and I use that to make the holes in projects that I'm working on so that I know that screw is going to fit. All right. Okay. All of that said. So, Andor. I did see in the Room Builders group that there was going to be a wall panel build challenge. I'm not involved in that wall panel building group that is judging those panels. Kelly Stern is in there, and Martine from Dune Sea Outpost is in there. Both amazing, amazing wall panel builders, and nowhere near the kind of caliber of things that I would produce. I mean, these guys are amazing. And I am not involved in the judging. And because I'm not involved in the judging, I might build one. I will share something else. I'm sure you figured that out watching this channel, but I I tend to have a lot of projects going at the same time because I wind up losing my attention span a little bit on a project, and I need something else to distract me so that I'm still motivated to move forward, and then I'll go back to those projects. And in that in-between time, I'm still thinking about them and trying to solve problems and trying to figure out what I want to do. And sometimes it takes me a little bit of motivation to get back to that project. And that's why I have a bunch of things that aren't completely finished, and I am trying to finish something, but sometimes it takes me a little while to get there because there are things that I run into that I'm not happy with, and I want to find a better solution than what I currently see in front of me, and I want to take some time to get back to it. Like the tracking system and my BD1 droid. I'm not going to give you a list because that would go on forever, but here's what I mean. So I got these really cool, from Whitey's Wicked Workshop, these amazing rocker switches, and he's still posting stuff where he's making them in resin and making them clear. But if you see this switch, this is not the kind that I have been using. I've been using the non-working ones, but this is amazing. It's a working switch, and this is why I'm so impressed with this group, because the creativity and things that people come up with blow me away constantly. And this switch is built on top of a real world switch, and he slid this in, and this is actually just using that switch and pressing the button so that he's able to have a real working rocker switch without having to worry about the electronics. He just repurposed something that already exists and found a way to Star Wars it. And that kind of creativity, I'm blown away by how cool this is and what David was able to do. So I wanted to steal from him. And so this is what I mean. If you've been watching Andor, and this won't be a spoiler, you saw that they made some of these lights canon as Cassian was roaming around inside his crashed ship home, trying to put things together so that he could leave that home. And I'm trying to tell you things without telling you things. This is a picture of the light that I'm talking about. And I've seen people use these lights before. I mean, Brian from the Smuggler's Room took and painted one up, and I've seen other people in the Star Wars Room Builders group take these lights, just like this one, and make them into a Star Wars lantern. And I like all of that. This one I picked up at Harbor Freight, super cheap, does this, lights up as soon as you pull that up. And I could have just painted this up and I could have said, hey, here's a light from Andor. But I am working on my cargo container still. And I love the look of this, the top of this. It's a great looking Greebly. And I started thinking, how could I take this and do the same thing that David White did and repurpose this and make it something Star Wars and make the functionality hidden so that I have something cool, but it's my own creation. So this is what I've got. This, I just took off the laser printer. Technically, I guess it's a laser cutter. Off my Glowforge. I'll say that. So here's what I've got. I've got a bunch of pieces here. And let me put this together and I'll show you what my idea is. I want to have my cargo container with a light that you can pull out so that you can, I don't know, bring some different feel to part of the room. I love it in the room when, and Brian is great at this at the Smuggler's Room. I love it when a room has a lot of ambient lighting just in different places around so that it just kind of draws your eye and gives you something interesting to look at. So what I want to do is I just use Box-O-Matic, which is a program that gives you this kind of keyed box. And I designed this so that the back end screws off. And what I'm going to do is I have designed it so that this fits inside. This is going to get attached to the bottom like this. And then this gets screwed on like so. And now I'm able to take these off. And I don't know if I'm going to leave these on or off. I can't decide what I want to do about these handles. I did that out of order. Remember how in my last video I was talking about the problems that I run into are from doing things out of order? This is the top piece that I made to hide that. This goes on now, like that. Now this goes on. I did it wrong again. I'm sorry. And I'm not going to change it right now. But these are made to fit some screws. And I'm just going to take the nuts off of these really quick and show you the plan. So this light, and I will make the files for this available in my Try to Finish Something Facebook page if you would like to use these files and make your own. It's going to have these that go on top, and then these screws will fit through everything eventually. I know it works. I've seen it work. There we go. I thought I'm going to sit here in front of everybody and try and show you how this works, and then it's not going to actually work, which would be typical for me. I would have to go away and cry. All right. So this is the idea. You would have this that was mounted inside of my container so that just this Greebly and this top part stuck out of the side. And then because of this being secured in the back, you would be able to pull this out and have some lighting so that you could see the side of the cargo container. What do you think? I'm going to finish this in this episode. So I'm going to put some paint on this and kind of show you what this is going to look like. But I wanted to show you one other thing. So again, Martine from Dune Sea Outpost, he had taken some stills from Solo, the Star Wars movie, which I love that movie. I still think that's a great movie, and I watched that quite a few times. I do really enjoy that. But when he was inside the ship that he was driving, he had... sorry, hold on, my phone's ringing. I'm going to... Actually, it's David White. That's really weird. Am I live streaming this or something and just don't realize it? All right, so anyway, how odd is that? So, Martine, I can't keep focused. Martine, Dune Sea Outpost. He had designed some of the little side Greeblies on the armrest for a Solo, the Han Solo. God. I'm sorry. I'm going to stop trying to explain it and just show you. So his were bigger. They were like these little cogs, and they fit on the side. And if you're already a member of the Star Wars Room Builders group, you've seen it. I love the idea of them, but I wanted them to be able to move a little bit, and I wanted them to be smaller. So here's what I've designed. This is so that I can mask this out and paint it. That is just a scoring line so that I know where things go. But my idea is going to be this. Well, these are the little cogs that fit in there. Hopefully they fit. So far they do. So these will fit in there. Oh, pushed it too far. Stop. So those fit in there. That goes on here. And then I have these rings, and this is all set up to, again, accept some of my screws. Let's see if I have some of that size readily available. And of course I don't. And because I don't pre-plan these, I am ill-prepared. So I'm going to just use these just to kind of show you what it is that this is supposed to do. And this goes on the top. Those go in there. And again, these aren't the right screws. I'm just dumb. And so what's going to happen is that will all sit together, and because this lip is a little bit bigger, you've got this turning movement, and so you can make this look like it actually does something. I'm going to finish this on this episode also. So I'm going to take these outside, I'm going to give this some paint, and I'm going to see if I can finish a custom Greebly that I will make available, and see if I can finish my own cool custom light. That's what I'm going to do in just seconds. Not on today's Try to Finish Something. I'm doing that right now. I'm going to turn the camera off and I'm going to go paint these things. I'll be right back. So here's the painted piece with some masking so that I can create some sexy panel lines. All right, I'm just adding the silver painted cogs into the red circle. And then that whole thing is placed into the center, and I'll add the first ring after I weed this stupid thing. And the second ring that's just a little bit wider to keep the cogs and that circle piece on the inside. Let me grab those screws and some washers and a few nuts. And here is my custom Greebly that will be available in my Facebook group, Try to Finish Something, for free. I'm sorry, I just went a little bit nuts. I'm really impatient. When I went outside to paint, I also painted my light thing. I couldn't wait. I gave it some paint, glued a Greebly to the top of it, just to kind of give it a little bit of a different look from the lantern to something more Star Wars. I'm also just adding screws into the holes where the handles were just to make it look a little bit different. I'm just using a little dab of super glue and shoving them in. So you can see from the colors that I'm trying to tie it into my cargo container that I'm working on, because that, of course, is where this is going. And I've weathered this, and I've already cut a hole in the container outside. All right, fine. I hadn't planned on this, but I'm even going to show you the Star Wars container that is so close to being done with this light inside. This is the manual data log that you saw before, and the light. And thanks for watching, and please subscribe and join my Patreon group. And if you would like to pick up something from my Amazon wish list and support me, it's in the comments below. And I've got one last thing to work on that's a collaboration with Martine of Dune Sea Outpost, but that I am going to wait for. That will be the last part, the final video for this table. Thank you for watching, and don't forget, glam shots are next.